Okay, so welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
And this one I think is pretty interesting.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be looking at the total lunar eclipse in Virgo.
Wow. Okay.
Coming up on March 13th, 2025. So, yeah, this one I feel like has kind of a personal connection for me.
Oh, really?
I was thinking back, to the last Virgo lunar eclipse. Like, when was that?
Mm-hmm.
It was back in 2008.
2008. Okay.
Yeah. And it was like a big time for me, like a lot of changes, a lot of
Right.
really big decisions. And I don't know, it's just interesting to think back on that as we're kind of coming up on this one.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So I was kind of curious, like for, anyone listening, like what were you doing back in 2008? Like,
Oh, gosh.
I don't know. It's just kind of fun to think about how much has changed since then, right?
Right.
But yeah, so we're going to be kind of using as our main source this website called Tarot by High C.
Okay, cool.
And it's really interesting because it kind of blends astrology with some more practical advice.
Okay.
So that's why I like this one. But yeah, so let's just kind of dive in.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think it would be good to start off by talking about like, what is a lunar eclipse?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's essentially, when the Earth is passing directly between the sun and the moon.
Right.
And it casts this like shadow on the moon, and that's what we see as the eclipse.
Right. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. And I think symbolically in astrology, like that shadow, it represents like hidden things coming to light. So it's like all those like subconscious patterns or, those like emotions we kind of keep buried.
Oh, okay.
They kind of like get illuminated during a lunar eclipse.
So it's not just like the physical thing happening in the sky.
Exactly.
It's also like a symbolic.
It's got all this symbolic meaning. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. And this one is in Virgo. So we're going to see a lot of those Virgo themes really amplified, I think.
Okay, so Virgo energy, like what?
Yeah. So think practicality, self-improvement, that kind of drive to like make things better.
Right.
Attention to detail,
Yeah, that makes sense.
being of service to others. So those are all kind of like, Virgo characteristics.
Okay, so how does that like translate to like us as individuals? Like how do we actually experience that?
Yeah. So I think the source talks a lot about like aligning with your highest good.
Okay.
And like really asking yourself, like, are my habits, are my beliefs, are the relationships in my life, are these things really serving me?
Right.
Or are they kind of holding me back from my full potential?
So it's like a time to kind of take stock.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like what's working, what's not working.
I like it. Almost like a cosmic decluttering.
Yes, exactly.
Just getting rid of the stuff that's not serving us anymore.
Totally. Yeah. And that can feel kind of restrictive at first, like you're being like squeezed into a smaller space.
Right.
But it's actually like creating room for something new to emerge.
Oh, I like that. Okay, so it's not just about letting go. It's also about like making space for something better.
Exactly.
But I think that's where I get kind of like nervous. Like change can be exciting.
Sure.
But it can also be scary.
Oh, totally.
Like how do we navigate that?
Yeah.
That kind of contraction and restriction you were talking about without feeling like completely overwhelmed.
Right. Well, I think it comes down to trusting your intuition.
Oh, okay.
This eclipse is highlighting the South Node. And in astrology, that represents like our past, like our karmic patterns.
Okay.
So there's this like push to break free from old habits, those ways of being that we've kind of outgrown.
Yeah.
And I think the way to do that is to really listen to that inner voice.
Oh, okay.
Like that gut feeling that tells us what's truly right for us.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
It's like we already have the wisdom we need.
Yeah, we do.
It's just about like tuning into it.
Totally.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And journaling can be really helpful for that.
Oh, yeah.
Like asking yourself questions like, what felt limited or restrictive in my life back in 2008? Have I fully moved past those limitations, or are they still kind of playing out in some way?
Right.
What can I release now to like open up to new possibilities?
Those are really good journaling prompts.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to write those down.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's not just about letting go. Right. Like there's also this emphasis on service and purpose.
Yes, definitely.
So what does that mean like in the context of this eclipse?
Well, the full moon is opposite Saturn during this eclipse.
Okay.
And that can bring a sense of responsibility, maybe even a bit of a reality check.
Okay.
It's asking us to look at how we can contribute to something larger than ourselves.
Okay.
And this doesn't have to be like grand gestures or anything.
Right.
It could be as simple as, being more present for your loved ones.
Okay.
Maybe volunteering in your community.
Right.
Or even just like focusing on bringing more kindness into your everyday interactions.
For even small things can make a difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's like finding that balance between like the inner work
Right.
and then the outward action.
Exactly. Yeah.
So-
And remember, the full moon is also trine Uranus during this eclipse.
Okay.
And that can bring like sudden insights, breakthroughs,
Mm-hmm.
a willingness to embrace new ways of thinking.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So stay open to those like aha moments.
Okay.
They might just point you in the direction of your next step.
That's awesome. Okay, so I'm starting to see how all these pieces kind of fit together.
Yeah.
But I know, like, for some people listening, this might be like a lot of information.
Sure.
So is there like one key takeaway that you would want them to remember?
I would say, this lunar eclipse in Virgo, it's a really powerful opportunity
Oh.
to step into a more authentic, purposeful version of yourself. It's about trusting your intuition, releasing what no longer serves you,
Right.
and finding ways to contribute your unique gifts to the world.
I love it. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And remember, the source we were talking about, Tarot by High C?
Yes.
If you want to kind of explore this energy further,
Yeah, it's a great resource.
so you can check them out at tarotbyic.net.
Exactly.
Is there anything else that we should mention about this eclipse?
Oh, well, just one more thing.
Yeah.
Mercury goes retrograde the day after this eclipse.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Oh.
so that can amplify confusion,
Right.
and make it hard to, think clearly.
Okay.
So it's best to avoid making any, major decisions
Oh, that's good advice.
until things settle down a bit.
So basically just take some time to reflect, journal,
Yeah.
connect with your intuition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let this eclipse kind of guide you towards your highest good.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah,
I think I need to take that advice myself.
me too.
So, all right, well, thanks for joining me for another deep dive.
Yeah, this was great.
And we'll see you next time.
Sounds good.